Hey everybody,
Hello.
I'm Mike,
I'm Jenny.
and this is And the Nominees Were, a podcast where we watch every movie ever nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Except kind of, right now it's not that, because we're watching every movie ever nominated for unique and artistic production at the Academy Awards, of
That's
which
true.
there are 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we already talked to you about 2 of them.
Yes, really I should have thought of this introduction 2 weeks ago,
That's okay.
but I didn't. We watched Sunrise.
Yes. A Song of Two Humans.
Yes, Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. One of 2 movies this year that has a weird subtitle like that.
That's true.
There's Chang, A Drama of the Wilderness.
It actually turned into a problem when I was trying to Google either of them because I just kept plugging different words into them. I was like, Chang, A Tale of the Wilderness. And they're like, nope. And I was like, Sunrise, A Tale of Two Humans. And they're like, nope. I just decided everything was a tale. I guess it's a tale of 2 cities. I was just trying to make everything that. Mm-hmm. But
what would the other movies have the subtitles like The Crowd and An Elegy of
One Fuck Boy.
An Elegy of One Fuck Boy. The Racket, A Potboiler of 2 crimes.
2 crimes. I was trying to think of a way to get across their relationship.
Yeah.
Of 2 nemesis. There we go.
Yeah.
Nemesis.
Everything is of 2 except Chang. It's just a drama of the wilderness.
The
but
wilderness in general.
all of these other movies are just are about just 2 people.
Mostly.
And their life.
Yep.
Their intertwined existence.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yep. The movie is Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans.
Yes.
We said that already, but
So yeah, it is the winner of Best Unique and
Yes.
Artistic.
And
Production. I get the name of this award wrong every single time.
yeah,
Best,
unique and artistic.
Just unique and artistic. Well, okay. When I looked at you said the Oscars website just says unique and artistic picture.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Everything else that I read said officially it was called Best Unique and Artistic Quality of Production.
I mean, that's possible.
Or something like that.
Like every single Oscar category has some weird, long-winded official name, but they just say Best Actor.
Okay.
It's that is best performance by a leading actor in a motion picture.
Right. Yeah.
But everyone just says Best Actor.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's that sort of a thing.
Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah. This is weird. I don't know what to say about this movie, but it's because I just love it. It's great.
It was really good. It's wild. It's a wild time.
Yeah.
I feel like I could immediately understand why, even though this was the one that I had heard of, I never heard of Wings until we started researching the Academy Awards. Yeah, I don't know anything about Wings. I know now that it takes place in World War I.
Yeah,
and literally,
with planes.
Yeah, and that's all I know about it because we haven't watched it yet.
Yeah,
but I had never heard of it. But this one I had heard of, and I could immediately understand both why it was famous because it's artsy as fuck, and why it was nominated for unique and artistic picture and not best regular picture.
Well, okay, so this is a film directed by F.W. Murnau, who was a renowned German film director at the time. He was part of the, I don't know if you would call it a movement of German expressionism, because I'm sure there were normal German movies coming out at the time, but you just don't hear about them at all. All you ever hear about of the German silent movies is Nosferatu, Metropolis, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and they're all German expressionist films. They use they tend to use set design and camera work to heighten the emotion of the scene and stuff. They tend to just paint light right onto sets, and they have these sharp angles at the end. They use a lot of forced perspective, which this movie has a lot of. And F.W. Murnau, he directed Nosferatu and Faust and a couple other movies. I feel like his movies, besides Nosferatu, are not the famous ones that you hear of when you hear of these silent movies. You hear of Metropolis and
Right.
Dr. Caligari. And but he made this movie called The Last Laugh, which starred Emil Jannings, who's a great German actor of the time. And apparently this movie caused enough of a sensation that both Murnau and Jannings were brought over to America to make American movies independently. And, at the time, Sunrise was produced by William Fox, who founded Fox Studios, which then merged with 20th Century Pictures, became 20th Century Fox. And I think he was a kind of a pioneer of these, like, big budget prestige movies. Like, he was an independent producer who would spend, like, top dollar on making a great movie rather than just trying to churn out product all the time.
Okay.
I mean, plenty of studios were making, their big movies, but they would also have, their bullshit that they would release every week. And William Fox was like, well, I'm just going to make the good movies. And he thought it sounded like a great, it sounded like great publicity to hire the great German director F.W. Murnau and let him do whatever literally whatever he wanted. He just wanted a great European art film that he could release in America, and that's what Sunrise is, pretty much.
Okay.
It's based on like a German short story, and was written. The screenplay was written by Murnau's regular screenwriter who wrote all of his German films, and it doesn't have that much to do with like American Hollywood silent cinema of the time. It's very different.
Yeah.
We were just talking about how all of these movies are two-handers, and so like it's kind of not dissimilar from like The Crowd or Seventh Heaven or something like that, but it is like the way it's made is just completely sets it apart, even from those movies which are very artistically made.
That's true. And I feel like, and they don't have that much in common, but I was trying to, in my head, compare this movie from what you were saying to Seventh Heaven specifically, because they are both, romances, sort of. This is sort of a romance that take place somewhere,
Yeah.
and I mean that takes place in France.
Yes.
And that takes place in France, but it's made by Americans, so feels American.
Yeah.
And this takes place anywhere as they want you to, like The Crowd is. It's a weirdo art film a little bit.
Yeah.
And so this has, I guess, more in common with that. They go to amusement parks even.
Yeah.
But this feels European.
Yeah, I mean, just down to the design of the village they live in, just down to the fact that they live in a village. Like,
Right.
that's not really a thing that we have here in America. But, it's there are analogs. There's, rural towns in the city. That's really what it is.
Right.
But yeah, they live in like a tiny village on a lake.
Yep.
And like we don't have those in America.
No, it's true. It's a big lake though. It seems like not that much the first time that you see the lake, when they just well, we should get into the plot a little bit.
Yeah.
But the first time they cross the lake, it doesn't seem like it's that big, although they don't go all the way. And then they're coming back in the storm, and I'm like, how big are they at sea?
They might be at sea. Yeah, I don't know. It's sort of left vague.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like a lot of this movie, it's like, it's not quite not meant to be taken literally. Like, I think, it's not like this whole movie is, like, it's a story about these two people, and presumably all the things you see in the movie actually happen to these two characters, but it also, like, it doesn't quite take place in any sort of, it doesn't really take place in real life, in a sense, I feel like.
Okay.
It's just because everything is heightened,
Right.
The acting is heightened, the sets are exaggerated, the things that happen to them are exaggerated.
That's true.
You know.
It's weird though, because like there are only parts of this movie that seem exaggerated, and then there's like in the middle of the movie where they go to the barber shop. That was when I looked at you and I said, this movie has taken a turn I didn't expect. It's like there's just some barbershop comedy.
Yeah.
And then like a dude starts menacing the girl, like, and I was just like, nope, this is uncomfortable. I'm like, because that has happened to me. And I didn't have a dude there to get up and threaten to slice his face open, unfortunately. You just got to get up and walk away, which she didn't do, which is not what I advise.
Yeah. Well, it's a different time,
That's
you
true.
know. She was trying to be so polite to this guy that she was like literally like burning
on the
herself.
hot towel machine,
yeah.
right? Like, nope. Anyway,
yeah.
so okay.
Yeah, let's get into the plot of this movie. So this movie is about a man and a woman. They don't have any names.
Nope.
And I hope I'm not.
Although apparently they do if you like go and look it up, but I guess that's probably from the short story.
They have names
canonically in the movie.
Yeah, they have names in the short story. The town has like it's all in the short story. Everything it's a normal.
It's a
story.
normal story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Renau was like, no, this is about every place, everywhere, at every time. Except it's not really. It's about like Eurocentric society.
Right.
Um,
But yeah, so they live together on a farm, and I don't know, they got married young, and they have a baby, and they used to be so in love, but now he's like all hooking up with this girl, the woman from the city.
Yeah. A city lady.
Yep. Who's like a real flapper type, but not really, because she's not a flapper, because it's still the middle of the country. She has nowhere to go, flap.
She's a real jazz baby.
Yeah. Yep. She's doing all the combing her hair just so, and the little lipstick, and she looks great.
Yeah.
But she's a garbage poison.
And like right from the beginning, they differentiate between the two people. Like she's. The first time you see this lady, she's smoking a cigarette.
Yep.
A lady smoking a cigarette. She's taking off her clothes.
Yep.
She's in a little nightie.
Yep.
And she's very different from the woman played by Janet Gaynor from Seventh Heaven, who just is kind of just in like rags the whole movie. Basically, she's just like
she's got like a farm dress.
Yeah, she's like in a dress, but it's just like layers of cloth just like all over her.
That's sort of true.
Yeah, and her hair is just like a helmet of nice blonde hair.
Yeah, I actually thought of that. There's at one point at the very end of the movie, her hair's all out. And I just thought it seems unfair that women at the time, there was like such a scandal when women would cut their hair short, but all these women just had really long hair that they had to pin up as short as possible anyway. Like, what was the point? What was the point of that? Like, I don't know, ridiculous.
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know. But yeah, when this movie starts, this guy, he's just when the movie starts, you don't really know what happened to their marriage.
No, that's
you just
true.
know that he's unhappy.
Lady.
He's hooking up with this lady. And just like immediately, she's like, "Hey, come away to the city with me, and also kill your wife."
Yeah, right.
And he's like, "No, how dare you? How dare you even suggest that?" And then he's like, "Okay, but what if I kill my wife?"
Yep. And so they go out. They go out on the lake together. Like they're gonna go for a day out. And then they get to the middle of the lake, and he gets up, like he's he's like the whole time just looks like a goblin.
Yeah,
he's like the whole time he's rowing.
I love his his posture and his stature.
Yep.
The whole first part of the movie, where he's got these like he's hunched over, he's got his shoulders all up, and he's just got this like haunted look on his face.
Yep.
It looks like they gave him like eyeshadow or eyeliner or something, and he's got this like he's walking like a Frankenstein or something. This is before Frankenstein though.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, and he goes. He decides he's gonna do it. He's gonna toss her into the lake. But at the last moment, he can't do it.
Yep. She's all like, "No, don't kill me," and he's like, "No, I shouldn't kill her."
Yeah.
And so then they rode to safety, and she makes a goddamn run for it.
Yeah.
as she should.
Yeah.
But
and she just happens to get on a train to the city, and he gets on too, and he's trying to apologize the whole time.
right.
I'm sorry I tried to kill you.
Yep. He's like, I didn't really try, if that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought about it really hard.
Yep.
And then when I was about to try, I didn't. I stopped. I didn't try.
And that makes it okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they go off into the city, and for a while he's trying to console her and apologize. Well, he doesn't try to apologize. He just says, "Don't be afraid of me."
Yeah,
a couple
that's
times.
True. Yeah.
And then
it's possible that he does apologize eventually. This movie doesn't have a ton of titles in it.
It's true.
It doesn't have a ton of dialogue.
Yeah.
Although I do want to real quick comment that the titles look great.
Yeah, it's this is at the very tail end of the silent era. And so it's kind of the culmination of a lot of stuff. This movie in particular, they're trying a lot of stuff, even with the titles, where it's got this very particular font.
Yep.
It looks almost sort of like painted on,
right.
like a paint. Well, I mean, they're all titles would have been painted at this time, but this has
think about that because most of the other ones look like typewritten.
Yeah.
But this looks painted, like with a paintbrush.
And they do things like they fade in certain words.
Yep.
And
or like when the lady suggests, what if she drowned?
Yeah.
The whole thing like dips and like melts like
Yeah.
like it's sinking under the water. And it looks great.
And sometimes for emphasis, one word or phrase will just be huge on the screen. Incidentally, I read that Murnau, he didn't particularly like intertitles, and he, in fact, his...
I feel like that kind of shows by how few of them there are in this movie.
Well, I mean, but you don't need them.
No.
For most of the movie. And in fact, his movie, The Last Laugh, there are none at all. It's kind of, it's notable in that respect. And supposedly he probably did not have any input at all on the titles. He made the movie and then said there might have been indications in the screenplay like here's where titles should go.
Right.
But by that time he was already back in Europe doing something else.
Okay.
Because he just didn't care. He thought the movies shouldn't have them at all. Okay.
But yeah, so anyway, so he might, I don't know, you never see him apologize. He might have apologized.
Okay, so they just happen upon this church where there's a wedding going on.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they walk in, and they're just watching this wedding happen, and they're both just kind of overcome with emotion, but him especially.
Yeah.
He's just breaking down, crying, and he finally says, "Forgive me."
Yeah.
And they do sort of they sort of make up. They come out of the church. It's almost like they've renewed their vows.
Married, yeah. Oh, it's really cute.
Yeah, and they walk out, and then they this is all. It's almost like a normal movie would kind of just end here, basically. Like you'd see them like walk off into the sunset, and they have a happily ever after they make up.
Right.
But then they're just for the next half hour or so, they just wander around the city and have adventures.
They just have a really nice date.
Yeah, they just have a wonderful day. It's like I'm thinking it's like the opposite of the Batman the Killing Joke.
Okay, explain.
The whole theory, the Joker's theory there is just, one bad day is enough to drive a person insane.
Okay.
The Joker has this one bad day and he becomes the Joker and goes insane and tries to drive Batman insane by giving him the worst day in his life.
Yep.
And
he tries to do it to Jim Gordon.
Yes, and also Batman.
But he's always trying to do that to Batman.
But in this movie, all it takes is one good day, one great day.
Yep.
To make them realize how much they value each other and their lives.
Yeah, and that's nice.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a nice message. It's sort of like, hey, appreciate the people you're around.
Yeah.
Like maybe go out and spend some time together if you think that your life is boring and you want to hook up with a jazz baby instead.
Yeah. So they walk around the city. They go, they get him a shave, the man shave. They go get their portrait taken.
Yep. The photographer takes their picture while they're making out.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful thing. They're trying to be real serious and straight because that's how you would act in pictures at the time.
Right.
They're supposed to last forever, so you've got to put a good face on. But they just keep cracking each other up, and then they just kiss for forever, and then he's like, oh, and he's sneakily
like, this is it. Yep.
And their face when they finally open up the picture and see their great picture, and it's them making out, and they're like, oh, look at us.
Yep. Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah. And they go out to a carnival.
Yeah, it's like it looks great. I said I was like, I want to be here. I want to be where this is.
It's like everything else in this movie. It's this amazing place that does not exist. This entire movie was created on a back lot and in a studio, and it's this amazing like hybrid outdoor amusement park and nightclub and all this stuff, and like this fancy restaurant. It's everything in this one place. And they go and play carnival games and they go dancing, and there's this whole extended sequence where the man tries to catch a pig that got loose.
And it's such a little baby pig.
It's ridiculous.
5 stars for the pig.
And then after they catch the pig, everyone's happy and celebrating them, and so the band puts on the peasant dance. And I think even at first the guy's like, "Hey, how do they know we're peasants?" You know. But they get into it and they do the whole peasant dance.
And everybody claps. And there's a bit for some reason where this lady is applauding and the straps of her dress keep falling down and this guy just keeps picking them up. And like it's funny for about like 20 seconds, and then I wanted to punch the guy just for continuing to pick her straps up. She eventually hits him when he gets tired of doing it and pulls them both down, and then she hits him. But I would have hit him for like, dude, leave me the fuck alone. Like, get out of my face. That's my dress.
And that's like the one like comedy bit in the movie where I'm like, all right, come on, let's enough of that. Like the whole middle part of this movie is weird. You know, the first third or so is this like very intense heavy melodrama, and then it's just this light comedy for a half hour, and it feels weird, but it's so nice and enjoyable and genuinely funny that it kind of doesn't matter. But I don't care about that dude and him pulling the straps on the dress. Like, come on. And after that, they just go home. It's nighttime. It's time to leave. They go and they gotta make their way back across the lake or the river or whatever it is. I guess it's a lake. And there's this awful, terrible storm way through, and they get their boat gets lashed all over the place. And actually, the only thing that saves the girl is the fact that he was going to kill her, but float himself back to safety with these bulrushes, these like reeds all tied together, and he fishes them out and like ties them to the girl. But still, she's lost. They go out. They have form a search party after the storm is over. They don't find her, and he's all dejected. And then the next morning, they find her again. Well,
I was gonna say, but first, before that, the lady from the city shows up at his house, like, "Hey, so I heard you killed your wife. Come on, let's go to the city." And he freaks out on her, and he starts to strangle her, and then they find his wife, and the maid is like yelling like, "Yeah, she's still alive, and she's crying," and so then he runs back, and everything is okay.
And everything is resolved.
And the lady from the city rolls back to the city in the back of a cart, dejected.
She's even like pouting. She's got like her chin on her hand, and she's like, "Man."
Yeah, right. My murder plan didn't work. I don't know what she was hoping to get out of this. Like, anyway, like she wanted to sell his farm and come to the city with her, but like, how much money did she think he was going to get for a farm? And
like how great is this guy? Right, I like him in this movie. I like him and the woman together, but like there's got to be plenty of dudes in the city.
In the city,
he's not a particularly like hot guy.
Right, exactly. Weird.
Yeah.
Weird choices.
I don't know, but I love this movie because I feel like describing it definitely doesn't do this movie justice.
No,
like
I
just
agree.
Summarizing the plot, because it isn't about the plot of the movie. It's
it's got a very a dreamy flow, sort of.
Yeah, and I feel like the real draw for most for most people who check this movie out, they're usually, budding cinephiles, and they're really attracted to the camera work and the the visual storytelling of it, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Everything in this movie is designed, and everything in most movies is designed, but here it's just taken to an extreme degree. I feel like most mainstream movies with this sort of a budget that came afterwards strive more for a sort of realism, even when they take place in a sort of fantastical world than this movie did. I feel like, even your average fantasy movie, it's portraying things as if they're actually if that world existed, this is what everything would look like, really.
Right.
Whereas this movie, it's taking place in our real world, but it's not at all trying to depict things realistically.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel like that's sort of an anomaly. Even, this movie is 92 years old or something like that, and I feel like still not very many movies go for this type of thing. Even when it happens sometimes in movies, it's a dream sequence, like the end of La La Land or something like that, Yeah,
that's true. I feel like part of it is because unless it's a dream sequence or something like that, I feel like now people are so conditioned to, that type of movie that unless you were to do the whole movie that way,
yeah,
the whole movie is artificial in a specific way, people would be like, oh, it took me out of it because it wasn't realistic.
Yeah. But I mean, this movie, it does do it the entire time. I think right from the very beginning.
And I feel like that is... that's building a different sort of expectation. That's why I feel like you have to, it's the same kind of thing with Brecht, that kind of thing, where it's where the whole point of it is that you're supposed to be thinking on some level the whole time that none of it is real.
Yeah.
So it's, and that's not what most movies are doing.
Yeah. I kept thinking on this rewatch, I was trying to think of more modern movies that take this sort of approach, and the closest I could think was Brazil, or Terry Gilliam in general, but even then it's not quite as extreme as something like this.
Right.
But yeah, right from the very beginning,
the chair makes noise when you move.
Yeah, in case I'm sure I should have said this at the beginning. We're recording from a different area now, and there might be different noises.
Annoying noises.
I'm in a squeaky chair. Yeah, there's annoying noises all the time when we record, but there's different ones this week.
Yeah. So sorry.
It won't happen. I apologize if my chair squeaks, or I'm in a swivelly chair and I keep swiveling from side to side. I hope it doesn't affect my recording at all.
Okay.
It's a nervous tick. I gotta stop.
I feel like it can't be as irritating as how 3 times an episode I always have to move my entire body out of the chair, and you can hear it every single time.
Yeah. If you don't want to hear those annoying noises anymore, please contribute to our Patreon account so we can buy better chairs and a microphone that hangs above us. And,
so that it doesn't pick up every sound from the table. I should get the Patreon set up, actually, but more on that later on.
Yeah. We'll figure that out. But yeah, the movie starts, it's got this sort of text at the beginning, basically telling you, this is a story that takes place, the time is anywhere, place is everywhere, whatever.
Right.
And then it's talking about how, city folk love to go on vacation to the country. And then there's this amazing little montage of just people on vacation and stuff, and there's just a big ocean liner, and then people at the beach, and it's this and these images are combined, which I learned that this is before they had optical printers that allow you to combine different imagery, and so they had to do this in camera. They would cover half of the camera and film this ocean liner coming in, and then they'd cover the other half of the lens, but they'd have to make sure that they had the
film
back?
Back?
and they're shooting these things at different locations, different times of day, possibly weeks apart, but they had to remember to have the exact same film in the camera and have it at the exact same point
that's
combine
pretty
the
cool.
images. Yeah,
They do that with the train too, where the
Yeah.
train goes past in one direction and then comes out of the tunnel on the other side of
Yeah.
it looks great.
and there's a lot of great stuff like that beginning montage. That's the kind of thing that movies would continue to do a little bit, especially in the 30s and 40s, but only in like very controlled like montage situations, like news flash, and then you'd see just newspapers all around, or like we're going out to party, and so you see a close up of a martini glass and like a neon sign. This is drink, and bubbles going up. But the movie continues to do that even in other scenarios. Like there's like you see. Just the man sitting on his bed while he's sort of contemplating, like, can I actually kill my wife? And then they superimpose these images of like, well, first it's the vamp like on his shoulder, but then it's just like close-ups of her face just around him. Yeah. He's just surrounded by that, and I think at the same point he's like, you just they superimpose the lake. And so he's just sort of like surrounded by water while he's contemplating this.
Yeah.
And it's things like that, but it's also just the whole like set design, like in these cottages at the beginning of the movie, like the backs of the rooms will be like up higher than the rest of the room, and like there's this sort of forced perspective things where like the doorways are smaller, and like I don't know. It's everything's just off kilter and skewed in this land. Like at one point, you see people like eating dinner at a dinner table, and the table is like tilted upwards, like that. Like it almost looks like a drawing desk or something, and they just have their bowls there, and they're just sort of perched on it. Everything's just sort of tilted and off.
Okay.
And I think it's whereas someone like Terry Gilliam would do the same sort of thing, but to specifically like highlight how like this world is different, or strange. I think in this movie, it's just to highlight that this whole movie is artificial.
Okay.
And also to heighten the emotional aspects of it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, if it was just to illustrate the way that they were feeling in their situation or what have you.
Yeah, like I feel like to show that this area is sort of economically depressed, they don't just show these people and how they have like nothing. It's like the wood beams are just bigger and stretched and strange, and that's like their mindset. I don't know. I don't even know like what it's for, except that it creates this world, this world that is separate from our own,
Right. Okay.
I don't know. I could talk about. I could name different examples of this for hours, I suppose, but
I guess I'm just mostly thinking that I didn't notice that.
I mean, that's okay. I mean, this movie is also heightened. It's heightened very emotionally, but also the story is heightened to a ridiculous degree. Like this is a movie where the main character of the movie contemplates killing his wife, and then says like, "Oh no, I didn't mean it." And then you follow him the rest of the movie, and he's a sympathetic character, and you kind of like get
that she's like, "Well, that's okay."
Yeah,
and then you root for them to stay together.
Yeah, and I think it's weird. I don't think this movie is suggesting that like, we all have times when we seriously contemplate murdering our spouse and running off with another woman. It's not even saying that those things are like okay, but I feel like it's like the most extreme version of like fucking up in a relationship,
Yeah.
Like we all have, like if you're in a long-term relationship with somebody, you're gonna fuck up, and you're gonna have
we're all human.
Yeah, and you're gonna have some bad moments with your spouse or your partner or whatever, and maybe some of those things are unforgivable, but maybe you just have to work through a lot of those things, and I would say probably in real life, if your spouse tries to murder you, don't like don't
No,
stay with this person.
I would agree.
In pretty much every situation, 99.9% of the time, do not stay with this person.
Yep,
but
who intended to kill you.
Yeah. But if they fuck up, they're going to fuck up sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
And, like, maybe work it out.
Yeah.
At least give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes you're just like, nope, this didn't work. I didn't know whether or not at the end of the movie, whether or not she was going to live.
Yeah.
Like, I thought maybe that was the kind of movie that this was, where she was going to die because he realized, how much he still loved her. And it was his punishment for going off with this other lady in the first place, was that then God killed his wife. But no, it was,
I think
I
feel like I've probably seen maybe that exact movie or heard that story. I feel like that would be a completely valid ending for this movie, but it's a testament to how much the movie makes you care about these characters and this one fucked up dude that you want him, you don't want this woman to die. You wouldn't want her to die.
Seems very nice.
But like,
although you don't really know anything about her.
Yeah, you don't really know anything about any
either
of them.
Yeah, that's true. They're people.
Yeah.
She seems like a nice lady. Mm-hmm. She likes babies. She likes their baby.
When they're in front of the portrait studio, there's just a picture of a baby, and she's like, "Oh, look at this baby!" And she gives him a bunch of little tiny kisses.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Yeah.
I thought in that second, I was like, maybe it's their baby, and I was like, that doesn't make sense.
No, she just likes babies.
Yeah, she just likes babies.
Yeah.
It was a cute baby. Mm-hmm. The movie has a cute baby, even though it's a photo. It has a cute pig.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's got a dog.
It does have a dog.
He's not a particularly cute dog, but he's a very protective dog.
Yep. He's like a good dog.
Yeah, he's a good dog. He's like Rin Tin Tin or something.
Yeah,
he just smells trouble. He's just like, that dude's gonna kill that lady. I better go help him.
Off chain.
Yeah, and he literally
jumps into the water.
there's a great shot where the camera is like on the boat, and you just see in the background the dog coming from the extreme corner of the frame, running all the way into the boat.
It's so good.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, what a good dog. Mm-hmm. A+.
Yeah, I feel like I could just go on for another 20 minutes or so just about the artistry of the cinematography and stuff, and I would enjoy doing that, but I feel like, I listened to the DVD and the Blu-ray come with an audio commentary by John Bailey, who's a cinematographer. He was not the cinematographer on Sunrise. He's just, sort of an expert. He's actually also currently the president of the Academy, the one who suggested getting rid of or showing this best cinematography category during a commercial.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, and we talked about this at length before, but not that it was a good idea, and I'm glad that they didn't do it, but we were all like, cinematography and editing, what are you doing? And it would have been different awards the next year. Yeah,
I think he was just like, well, I'm a cinematographer, I'm head of the cinematographer department, I'll take one for the team and say our category shouldn't be on there, but no, that was a dumb idea.
Yeah.
But anyway, he does this commentary on Sunrise, and sometimes it sounds like he doesn't think it's a good story or something. He just keeps talking about the cinematography and just sort of dismisses all the stuff that happens in the movie. And I don't want to do that.
Right.
And I think it's when you talk about this movie, it's in danger of happening because the cinematography is so spectacular.
I mean, and also I don't think that it would be wrong to not to dismiss the story, but there isn't that much to it.
No, it's true.
So, the whole middle of the movie is just these people are on a really nice date.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm getting at is that, if you're a cinematography nerd, absolutely watch this movie and you'll get a lot out of it. But I think it's also just a very emotionally affecting movie.
Yeah,
I teared up multiple times during this movie.
I thought it was real nice.
Yeah.
It was a real nice film.
Yeah.
I feel like my job a lot of the time is I show up for these podcasts and I don't know anything about filmmaking. I know about, like writing and
but as far as story goes, this is an oddly structured story. It's like I said, like the story bit is kind of the first 40 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And then they just go off and have an adventure.
Yep.
And then there's a bit more story at the end.
But even that can be summed up in like 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Like, the boat capsizes. They can't find her. He tries to kill his girlfriend. They find her. Like,
but,
this guy still has a lot of murder in his heart.
Yeah, like...
But having said that, like, I didn't really blame him for coming at... And he lets her go. But I didn't blame him for coming at this lady from the city because he's like, this lady, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have been out there. But
exactly.
also... he wouldn't have realized that he loved his wife.
Exactly.
So everything happens for a reason, is I think the moral of this story.
Yeah, but he is a sort of violent dude. Like, he's out with this with his lady, and she's like, "Hey, kill your wife," and he's like, "You kidding me? Kill my wife?" And he just immediately starts strangling her.
That's true. Yeah.
And then he's like, "All right, that wasn't cool."
And her reaction is to kiss him a bunch of times.
Yeah.
She's like, "I know what I'll do. I'll kiss him." And then he won't be mad about this. And it works. This guy is weird. He's got problems.
Yeah, and then he still leaps to strangling at the end of the movie, too.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe...
He also carries that switchblade.
Yeah, and he threatens that dude with a knife.
That creep. Yep.
Yeah.
But I still clapped.
Yes.
Because you should always threaten creeps.
All I can say is it was a different time. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe just men were expected to be violent all the time.
I guess maybe. Weird though.
Yeah, this movie, as much as I love it, it is a very dated, depiction of gender roles and things like that.
Oh yeah, it never comes up. I said this to you too while we were watching it. If he was going to, kill his wife, sell the farm, move to the city, I was like, what were they going to do with their baby?
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, she was just going to be like, toss the baby in the river.
Yeah, I don't know.
First opportunity. She was
Probably.
just going to chuck his baby in the river.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, it's, it very much, demonizes this woman from the city.
True.
Just
it sort of makes it her fault. Yeah.
Yeah, just for living life and having fun.
Well, and also for
suggesting murder. Yes, but it almost seems like that comes out of her lifestyle.
That's true. It does have that implication. Yeah.
And then there's the virtuous woman from the country who just dotes on her man and everything. And then there's the guy who's ultra violent at the slightest provocation.
Yep.
But you know what? He deserves love too, I guess.
He just really enjoys playing that game where the pig gets to go down the slide.
Yeah. He just would not stop playing that game. I think he just throwing the ball a bunch of times.
Yep. See, that's a healthy way for him to get his aggression out.
Right.
I think that he needs to get into baseball. I think that everything would be okay.
Yeah, just maybe I can't wait for the sequel where he just starts a league, you know.
A farm league.
Yeah. There you go.
Although I don't know what the incentive is to play baseball if a pig isn't going to go down a slide.
Right.
I think that's the real. I think that we should bring that into the major leagues.
Yeah,
honestly,
I think so. I think more sports need just random pigs.
Yeah,
around.
just cute ones, like little pigs, not like big pigs. Big pigs are stupid.
Yeah, in the commentary, John Bailey says that he's not sure where that whole sequence came from because it's not actually in the screenplay that was written by the German, and he thinks it was a studio thing to just have more levity in the middle of the movie.
Okay.
Which might be...
Have him chase a pig.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. We'll figure that out later.
And he even suggests that probably the pig stuff, a lot of it was shot by a second unit because animals are hard to work with. And so it doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the movie. But you know what? I love it anyway. It's great.
True.
Who cares? There's a pig. He runs around.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yep. He drinks wine.
Yeah.
The pig gets drunk. Amazing.
Yeah.
What an icon.
Yeah. We stand a legend. feel like I have more things to say, but I don't know what they are.
This movie has sound in it.
Yeah, this movie was...
I didn't expect it because all I knew was that all the movies were going to be silent.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a silent film. There's no, like, dialogue.
People yell at them, though.
Yeah, but, well, okay. So,
I heard human voices.
yes.
I think that was what caught me off guard.
This movie was released with a sync soundtrack. This was released in a process called Fox Movie Tone. We actually watched another movie already that was released in Movie Tone, Seventh Heaven.
Okay.
That was an original score that was written for the movie, although that movie, I think, was originally released completely silent, and then they re-released it with a recorded soundtrack. And this one was planned with a recorded soundtrack from the beginning. It's like almost completely just score, but then there's this one moment when it's right after the man and the woman walk out of the church,
yeah.
And they're just holding each other, and they're just like looking in each other's eyes, and they're walking down the street, and then the scene just dissolves into like this picture perfect field that they come from. And then you hear like the sounds of the city come back, and you realize like they're just in the middle of traffic.
Yep.
And so the soundtrack sort of devolves into a bunch of horn honks, and then you hear people like, "Come on, get out of the road! What the hell are you doing? You crazy? Get out of here!" But they're all off camera and stuff.
Right.
But this movie was released 1 month after The Jazz Singer came out. But it is important to know that like The Jazz Singer, it was the first movie with like dialogue in it, but it was like, the story was completely unintentional. It was planned with songs in it, and then at the end of one of the songs, Al Jolson sort of ad-libs one of his stage lines, like, wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet. And then they were like, oh shit, people can talk on film. I think maybe they added like one dialogue scene, but that was it. But it was still a big landmark thing. But like, yeah, there were other movies with like synced sound at the time. The first full dialogue movie was late 1928 or 1929. It was another Fox movie, or no, it was another Warner Brothers movie. And it's not good. It's awful. It's just a generic gangster movie. It's even worse than The Racket. It's just like, it's boring as hell. But yeah,
I'm sorry. I was like, I'm sorry if that was sidetracked, but
it was a little sidetracked. But yeah, it is interesting that this movie does have a synchronized soundtrack, although it really is just for the music.
Right.
It took them a while to figure out like what people wanted from sound. I think people at first thought it was just a novelty, like you didn't need it, but then like the first time you hear someone talk on film, you're like, oh yeah, everyone should be doing this.
Like, why isn't everybody talking?
Yeah,
it's so much easier.
Yeah. But they didn't plan for that, and so it took them a long time to figure that out. That does bring me to a thought, which is, this movie, obviously there was silent films continued for another like year or so. But this really in many ways feels like a culmination of the art form.
Okay.
It feels like it takes like everything that everybody learned in almost 30 years of silent movie making and figures out how to make like the perfect silent movie in a way. Like it just combines all the different techniques and all the different storytelling techniques into this one story that just like this movie wouldn't it almost wouldn't work as a sound film.
Yeah.
There's so much of the movie that's just played out in just like these charming little vignettes where people don't need to talk.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter what they're saying. That's why there's so much time that doesn't have titles.
Yeah.
And like if you had made it as a sound movie, you would have to write dialogue for all these scenes. And
and especially in the early days of sound filmmaking, a lot of the filmmaking techniques that were used, that were on display here, you couldn't do because those early sound cameras, they had to have the sound recording equipment like baked into the thing. The cameras were super loud, and so you had to have them in like the soundproof booth. You couldn't move the camera anymore. Everyone had to be standing like around the microphone, so the people couldn't move anymore. And so like the sound movies from like the next year are so much worse than this movie. Like almost all of them.
Okay.
But it got better. They figured it out pretty quickly. But yeah, this movie, it's just it's like the ultimate silent film, you know.
Yeah.
I think if you haven't seen a silent film before, well, probably maybe watch like a Charlie Chaplin movie or like one of these comedies. I feel like
I was going to say watch Safety Last.
Yeah, the comedies are very easy to get into, but like after that, I feel like this would be a wonderful movie to start with, but also it's kind of the best one.
Right.
I don't know if you'll find a movie that's better than a silent movie that's better than this one.
So you're saying that that everything else would be a disappointment?
It might be. Sometimes it's better to work your way up to the best one.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
It depends on how you want to use your time, honestly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you're like, I want to just watch the best one, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're like, I want to get an idea of what silent movies were like, then work up to this one. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess I should say that I say that having probably not seen a lot of the classic silent films, you know,
okay.
I've got a lot to catch up on.
That's
but I feel like
I have seen none of them. Like by comparison.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many silent films out there. It's very hard to see all of them when you could be watching movies with dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah, I could be watching movies with explosions.
Yeah, this movie doesn't have any explosions in it.
It does have fireworks.
Yeah, there's some fireworks in it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, after that, after we watched this movie the same day, we watched Marked for Death with Steven Seagal. And I gotta say, you know, if you're looking for car chases or, you know, ripping someone's arm in half,
right?
This movie, Sunrise, does not have that. It's really not going to scratch that itch.
That's true. Yep, there's no topless women firing guns.
No.
Yeah. Zero katanas.
Yeah, really, cinema had a long way to go.
It's true.
All right.
There's a place for everything.
Right,
is all I'm
yeah,
saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have something else?
No. I guess I just there were a couple things in the movie, just little moments that I wanted to highlight that I love. Just some of the cinematography things. Like there's some great shots, some great wide shots of the city, and like the city was entirely constructed on the Fox backlot. And it's got some great forced perspective thing where in the back you've got your rows of buildings, but they're really just like cardboard cutouts that are like 6 feet high. And actually in the back they employed little people to walk around in the back to get the perspective, right? So there's to make it seem like the city just goes on forever. And,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, and they do a lot of things like that. Like in the carnival scene, you just get like a little tiny snippet of a roller coaster that goes by, and it's probably like half the size of an actual car.
I kept wondering,
you know,
okay, because I kept trying to figure out that specifically, like how they did the roller coaster.
Yeah,
because it comes like basically right at the camera, well, you know, off to the side, but still. And I was like, they didn't build a full-size roller coaster.
No, absolutely
and like
not.
It looked like there were people in it. Mm-hmm. Like. But did they just build that 3 pieces of track?
Yeah,
they
probably.
Must have, right? Yeah. How do you even launch that car then? Anyway,
I don't know.
I was very distracted by that.
That's fair. Any other moments? I mean, there's just some amazing shots in here. I don't know. There's a better medium to explore that, possibly by watching the movie.
Right.
Or just seeking out some like Vimeo video of 1,000 most beautiful shots in cinema, because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Or the shots, you know.
That's
Who
true.
cares about story or production design? It's all about the cinematography.
I mean, I care. Let's see.
Well, this movie was nominated for 4 Academy Awards,
right,
and won 3 of them.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah. It won Best Cinematography, and the cinematography is beautiful. Best Actress in a Leading Role, but Janet Gaynor also... but back then they didn't specify what movies,
Right.
and Janet Gaynor was in 3 movies this year. I think she gives a wonderful performance in this movie.
Yeah. I think she might be better in Seventh Heaven, though.
Maybe she's maybe given a bit more to do, but I do feel like within the confines, like we were talking last time about how how a lot of the roles for women in these movies are sort of similar.
Yeah.
They're all playing like the waif,
Right.
But I do feel like her characters in this and Seventh Heaven, they do feel different.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And this movie was nominated for Best Art Direction and didn't win, which I think that is a bit of a crime.
Yeah.
Because this guy, I don't know, is it Rokas Glies? I don't know. It's a German name. I'm not too good at those, but he was Murnau's designer on a lot of those German films.
For Best Art Direction, the other movies... This was nominated and didn't win. Seventh Heaven was nominated and didn't win. The winner did 2 movies.
Okay.
It looks like, which might have...
Yeah, might have. Yeah.
but I haven't heard of either of them. It's
Okay.
The Dove and Tempest.
What's the guy's name? Oh, well,
William Cameron Menzies.
Oh, William Cameron Menzies won.
One Art Direction that year.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
He went on to become a director. He's interesting because into the sound era, he worked as a director, but also he kept working as a production designer, and
Okay.
a lot of his most famous work in the 30s and 40s is as a designer and not as a director. I think he designed Citizen Kane.
Oh,
I could be
okay.
wrong about that. He was a production designer on Gone with the Wind.
Oh, it says he pioneered the use of color in film for dramatic effect, not just in general.
Yeah. But yeah, he was like David O. Selznick's like house designer for David O. Selznick Studios. So he did all the art direction for all those like Hitchcock movies like Rebecca and stuff. But he also was directing into the 30s, and he one of his last, actually I think his last feature film is Invaders from Mars in 1953. So he was part of the big 50s sci-fi boom as well. William Cameron Menzies is a very talented man. So he probably deserved some award. I don't know if he deserved this one competing against Sunrise.
That's fair. But he got that award for those 2 movies, and the only other award he has is an honorary award for Gone with the Wind. It also says that the title production designer was invented for him.
Yeah, I remember reading that now, but I don't remember for what movie.
Basically, for working with David O. Selznick.
Oh yeah.
It says
David O. Selznick. I'm pretty sure David O. Selznick is the person who invented the term executive producer.
There you go.
He really liked inventing film terminology.
It was coined specifically for Menzies to refer to his being the final word on the overall look of the production. It was intended to describe his ability to translate Selznick's ideas to drawings and paintings from which he and his fellow directors worked.
Okay.
He also directed the burning of Atlanta in Gone with the Wind.
Okay. That reminds me that there's one thing I did want to highlight, which was at the very beginning of the movie when the man is off with his lover. She's like, "Come away with me to the city," and she like gets up and she's all like doing this crazy dance.
Yeah.
And at the top, they superimpose just the city, and it's this amazing model work. Like it's all models, and the camera's just like zooming into this like street scene, and it's just the camera's just going all over the place and presenting the city as this amazing place to be, and it's amazing. It's some of my favorite stuff ever. I love model work in general, but this model, it's like, it's very artificial looking, but I think it's not supposed to matter.
Yeah.
Because
I love it's just the ideas in their heads anyway. So yeah, it looks great.
I do think this movie is kind of interesting in that it I feel like it sort of glorifies the like peasant, working class, rural people. But they also sort of, the man and the woman, they find their love renewed by going to the city.
Right.
And by just taking in life there. I think it's kind of weird. I don't know what the message, if any, is there. I don't know. Bit muddled.
That's true. I agree with that.
But it's great. The city's great. But also, the country, also pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, you don't really see the country in this movie, so there's no way of knowing how good
I don't know. I sort of, in general, cities, pretty good. I like cities.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Also like towns.
Yeah.
Small towns. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cities and towns.
Cool.
Should end this movie with a song by the guy who sings songs about cities and towns.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, we don't know what city or town they live in.
Yeah.
We can't find
the guy who sings songs about cities and towns would not approve of this story because he's never left his hometown.
That's true.
And he's like, why would you go anywhere else?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He would not approve of going into the city even for a day.
Yeah. To find your love.
Yeah.
He didn't do it.
Yeah.
So.
No.
Mm-hmm. I think we should keep all this.
Yes. It's about time we brought Motörn Media into the podcast. But I guess that is it for Sunrise. Oh, well, I guess I should say this is the movie that won Unique and Artistic Production over Chang and The Crowd.
Yes.
And I think The Crowd is a very worthwhile movie. It's almost, even though it's got some of those expressionist touches, it's almost sort of the opposite of this movie in a lot of ways. It's very realistic.
Yeah.
And it's about just real people in real life.
Yep.
It's very worthwhile.
And how hope dies.
Yes. But I guess personally, Sunrise is more my kind of movie. I love movies that sort of just do what only movies can.
Right.
And I feel like this is definitely that sort of a thing, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think this win is justly deserved.
I agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It and I when I was listening to actually our episode about Chang and the Crowd, I realized that I was maybe a little bit hard on The Crowd because it made me feel bad.
Yeah.
But I do think that it is an interesting and well-made movie about a fuckboy. And I do think this is a better movie.
Mm-hmm. I thought you might have trouble with The Crowd because I feel like you when movies make you feel bad, you take it personally.
I do. It's true. I realize that is wrong, but I can't help it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily wrong.
I try to power
it's just,
through it.
Yeah, it's just like something to recognize. Like, I feel that way sometimes where I feel like I have a tendency to watch a lot of just, happy movies or just like, dumb action movies, stuff that makes you feel that, fires the pleasure centers in your brain.
Yeah.
But then, you watch a real like weepy or real sad movie or a real like powerful movie and it still feels, I'm very happy that I saw it. And I sort of have to remind myself that it's okay to watch movies and feel bad afterwards.
I weirdly, though, not always, but most of the time, weepies do not make you feel bad.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's the thing with them. They get like all of that tear jerking, that pathos. You're like, oh, this thing is terrible, and I'm sad about it because I feel empathy for these people. Mm-hmm. But you don't carry that with you. It's not like, it's not like this movie pointed out that life has no meaning. And you just gotta sit with that. Like, you don't even get to cry about it. Like, yeah. And so it's different. It's a different feel.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, weepies can be, they also fire a weird pleasure center in your brain, is I guess what I'm saying. Because you get to cry about life being sad instead of just sitting there with the fact that life is sad.
Yeah. But there's also the ones that are like really like emotionally manipulative.
Yeah.
That like, you sit there and you cry because you're overcome by emotion, but then like 2 hours later, you're like, what was that movie about? I don't even know. But then there's the other movies that make you cry, and then you just keep thinking about those moments
Right.
for weeks and weeks, some movies are good and some movies are bad. Yeah. Who knew?
It's like, I don't remember what the context was, but the other day somebody just mentioned like the song Remember Me from Coco, and I like started to cry a little bit, Yeah. And, like that's a very emotionally manipulative movie. It knows what it's doing, but it does a good job, So I don't know. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
That is a movie for me where like I was crying in that movie, and then at the end I was like, yeah, that was a movie, whatever. I know you feel very differently. We don't have to relitigate Coco.
Okay. Yeah.
But I guess that's it, since we've been talking about other movies for a while now.
No, you're right.
That's it for this week's episode. Next week is Wings. Next week is the end of the first Academy Awards.
It's very refreshing to just be done with a miniseries.
Well, to be fair, we did 2 movies a week for the first 2 weeks.
I know, but I'm just saying it's what a feeling.
Yeah. But that's it for us here. At Podcast HQ. What the hell am I talking about? That's it for this week. Please remember to rate us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review. I don't think anybody has done that yet. This is our 13th, 14th episode. There's no excuse by now. You've been hearing us say review the show at least 14 times.
I mean, unless they're just trying to spare our feelings.
Yeah.
Which I respect. But but if you enjoy us, please, just leave a little review that says, great!
Yeah. If you have any negative criticism, don't leave a review. That's not nice.
Yeah,
but,
you can maybe email it to us.
Email us if you have some constructive criticism. If you want to complain about vocal fry, don't do that.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Come on. It's made up.
Yeah. The email address is nomineespod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @nomineespod, and I keep saying one of these days we're going to tweet some extra content, and we never do.
No. Oh, that reminds me that I did have something to add, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We're on Instagram at nomineespod.
At nomineespod.
Yeah.
I forgot to do that today, but I will do that.
We're on Spotify and YouTube. If there's any other platforms that I should get on and that we're not on there yet, let us know, and I'll try to get into that store. I don't know if we're on Stitcher or something. Yeah, we might not be on there.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah,
that's where all the classy people who pay for podcasts go now.
Ugh, paying for podcasts. That's gross.
Right?
By the way, subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, right.
For bonus content. Not just asking. This show I'm pledging now will never be behind a paywall. That's gross. I don't like when people are like when they try to monetize the old episodes of the podcast. I don't like that.
No, that's weird.
These will always be free.
How are you supposed to get into them?
Yeah, the bonus episodes you got to pay for those. You got because that's where the real honey is. No, it's not.
No, it's really not.
It's really not.
But it's more of the unvarnished, which I know people love. The unvarnished.
Yeah, very unpolished. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
I got nothing.
All right. Then.
Are you trying to think of something clever to say to tie into something?
I don't want to steal the blank check thing where as always and then a thing from the episode. But I feel like I want to say something else besides just bye every week.
You gotta get a catchphrase.
Yeah. What's my catchphrase?
Peace out. No, it's not a good
Peace out, homies. I don't know. If you have any ideas for a catchphrase that I should have, tweet at us.
Yeah.
Send us an email.
Yeah. I remember I tried to steal "See You at the Movies" and you were like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, but they're not using it.
The copyright has lapsed.
All right. Anyway, have a nice week. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
I feel like I'm just as awkward. It feels like I'm getting off the phone with somebody.
Yeah.
Where you say, all right, bye, and then you just keep saying bye over and over. All right.